Adopted a German Shepherd. How come you're not covered in hair?
I wear Ooh La La spa wear. It's non-slip. Hi, ready to get your nails done? You're doing so good. All right, ready?
Oh!
That doodle didn't doodle on me. Wipes right off.
I'm going to show you guys just how waterproof these really are.
Still dry.
I just want to get these tops. How beautiful you are. You ready? You just want to.
My boss always thinks that I'm a slacker because I never have any dog hair on me. And she's right.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. That was Ooh La La Pet Spa, Spa Wear, our sponsor, and definitely go check them out. It is OOHLALASPAWEAR.com. I'm wearing one of their smocks. Still looking good, looking great. Feels great, just as always. Now, what isn't as always is I'm not wearing makeup this time, and I just don't care. I closed tonight, got home, had a little bit of time to unwind, ordered food, and then immediately had to start preparing all this. So y'all get to enjoy this in HD. Congrats. But anyways, we have 4 awesome guests. We have our regular Yvonne, which is great, and she is also streaming this show onto her own YouTube channel. So if you're watching from there, go look up CM's Random Show on YouTube, and you'll be able to come on my channel and subscribe and notify and all that good stuff, and that'll help me in the long run. Anyways, got her back. Judy is finally back with us. Manessa, who's been with us the last couple episodes, is back. And then for this first time, we'll have Christine Pearson on, which will be great too. So we were supposed to have 2 other guests, Laura and Angela, but life happens and they weren't able to be with us. But we still have 4 good guests. We're going to have a lot of time because we're doing competition and certification, which is a huge thing. All new groomers ask about. Anyone who starts hearing about it, they're like, well, how do I do it? What does it involve? Am I even good enough to get started? So on and so forth. But the big thing is that a lot of stuff with the certifying and the competing kind of bleed over into each other. So once I have our guests on, we'll go over sort of that bled over stuff. And then we'll go into certification, going over that, and then we'll go into the competition. So let's go ahead and bring in the regular Yvonne.
Hello.
You're here this time when I brought you on. How are you doing?
I peed really fast.
You did really fast. Ran and did that really fast. I know we missed you on the cat grooming episode. But otherwise, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Doing great.
And I never wear makeup because I just don't care.
I shouldn't care, but I was trying to be professional. But then tonight,
there's there's always hair stuck to my eyelashes and like in weird places. I
got this thing going on.
If there's anything that's able to stick to my face when I'm grooming, so I just got used to not wearing makeup anymore, and I've gotten to the point in my life where I'm like, I'm okay with me.
Yeah, exactly.
Voila, natural.
Yes. So I know we normally, I ask people their qualifications and all this, but specifically for this episode with the certifying and the competing, what are your qualifications to sort of be talking about this?
I am a nationally certified master groomer for National Dog Groomers Association. I believe I achieved that in 2007. I've been grooming for 25 years, full time. Yes, every single day. And I've also, I got up to, I believe, at one point, number 12 and then number 14 in the country in 2012 and 2014 competing. And I also teach a class here in Jacksonville on how to help you get certified and how or start competing or just improve your grooming. So I've been teaching those classes on the regular for I think about 7 years now.
Yeah.
And we've had 4 master groomers come out of it from my classes that have gone on to do their certification with one of the big entities. So
Yeah. Awesome.
So that's my qualification.
Fun in the Sun, though. What's happening at Fun in the Sun for you?
Oh, yes. Oh, thank you so much for reminding me. I'm so paranoid about it. I'm teaching a class this year, and I'm super, super excited. I'm teaching a class on basically handling for grooming and how to make your life a little bit easier while you're doing your everyday grooming. So I'm super excited about that, and possibly going to turn that into a podcast as well. So
that'd be great. Yeah. I have somebody videotape it for me so I can see it.
I don't think we're allowed to, but I will ask Jeff, but I don't think they're allowed to. You never know, though. You know, our GoPro is only like this big, so
sneak it in like a briefcase.
Yeah, I might be able to talk Larry into like carrying it in his pocket or something and being like, fly. Yeah.
That'd be great. Well, let's get Judy.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Full makeup because I wear it every day, even to work.
I thought about doing it this morning before work, and I was just so tired. I just didn't care. Like,
yeah, I get it. I've been actually kind of slumming all day, cleaning closets, getting rid of old paperwork and all that. And then I was like, ugh, I got to do my makeup before I do this.
I get that. Now, again, like I said to Yvonne, I normally ask you guys to say all your qualifications, but specifically for this episode, competition and certification, what are your qualifications?
Actually, I was a longtime competition groomer. I did start my certification, but I never finished. I got my sporting and my non-sporting, but I kind of was in that era where it was all like certification was just really coming of age. Mm-hmm. And, with my competing and everything else going on, 3 babies and, with my family's business, the Lang Industries and Evolution Apparel, everything kind of snowballed on me. And my career actually boosted faster than I finished my certifications. All of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I went from, working on my certifications and competing to, taking over my parents' trade show and getting taken on as a wall extreme team member and then speaking and all of that. And then, so I just never finished my certifications, but I'm like the girl with the GED that says, go and get your high school diploma, go and get your certification. Yeah. It's more important now than ever, because our industry is growing, and our industry, it's a way of showing that we are regulating ourselves. Yeah. And in this day and age, there's so many, people coming from the outside that are trying to regulate us. If we take it into our own hands and get our certifications, I'm just old now. So I'm like going, okay, I'm 52. How much longer am I going to be grooming? But for the younger groomers, I definitely encourage, get it done. Take this into your own hands. Give us the power in the industry, and don't let people from the outside come in and delegate to us what we need to do.
No, that's really important. I know our next episode is kind of we're going to cover stuff like that. So I'll talk about that at the end of the show, though. Anyways, let's bring in Manessa. Hey, Manessa.
Hi. Hello.
Hey. So just like I told them, what's your qualifications for this episode?
Sure. So I have been competing since I started grooming, which is almost 12 years ago now. I'm in open division and certified master groomer as well. And I've also been mentoring people to get certified for the last couple of years. So I haven't really done a seminar or anything specific on it, like a class, but I've definitely been helping people individually, which is awesome. I think it's really cool.
That's actually how she and I met. She came to one of my classes 3 or 4 years ago.
Yep.
And, yep, it was wonderful. And then we went with Lisa and taught at the place where she was working down near Gainesville. So that's how she and I met.
I think that's really how I met you, though, Yvonne, was coming to one of your classes. So
yep,
small world.
That's awesome. I love it.
Alrighty, let me bring Christine in. Hello.
Hi.
Oh, I like your background.
Oh, that's cute.
I don't know why I'm flipped sideways. I don't know.
Oh, that's okay. Especially, you're on your phone though, aren't you?
I am. That's probably why.
That's why we have other guests that come in and they're on their phones, and it's always like that. So no worries. Anyways, Christine, just like I asked the other three here, what is your qualifications for today's episode?
Well, I'm an NDGA Master Groomer and an IPG Internationally Certified Master Groomer. The big three, those are the two that I'm formally certified with. And third open level competitor. Once I got to open level, I said, these amazing women, they're just, I kept getting my ass. So I used my last class in open IPG and NDGAA. So I did every class. I did certification and NDGAA at the All American Grooming Show, and then took my writtens. So it was psychotic weekend.
Oh my God.
I was gonna say, you're crazy. You are insane. I like you.
I did have to do, because I was short on a couple of classes. Obviously, PG, the way they have their hands-on independent classes with NDGAA. So anyways, I got it all done within, and I then retired from competing. I just sanctioned judging program and completed that. So I'm a sanctioned UN. I don't think an active organization at this point, and then I'm a judge as well. But retired from the competition ring entirely in a room full time and take care of my family and educate and teach other people. The big three, those are the two. There's other certifications I have, and I recommend, even if it's aside from the breed specific certifications that are industry out, and take part in it. It makes you feel better about yourself, and it moves the industry forward.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. And then, for anyone that's watching, you're not missing anything that Christine is saying. It's just she doesn't have the Wi-Fi right now. You said you just moved, right? Yeah, so it just has a bit of a stutter here and there, but you're not actually missing anything she's saying, just so you know. All right, guys, so because there's so much, I actually wrote stuff down this time, which I never do. That's how you know this is serious.
Amazing.
It is amazing. I normally just go through my head here, but so like I said at the beginning, I know we were all discussing what kind of topics we really want to go over for both of these things, but some of the stuff you guys mentioned, it kind of like you can cover both by answering the same question. Does that make sense? So I want to go ahead and we're going to tackle those types of questions. So let's see. The most prominent one is how to find dogs, which I think would apply to both certifying and competing. Let's see. Yvonne, we'll start with you.
So I initially went with other groomer friends that were either having had already certified or were certifying in those workshops in those areas where I was going, and I had some existing groomer friends in those areas, and that was one way. I hit them up and said, hey, I'm practicing the miniature schnauzer, do you have something? And a lot of times the answer was no, because we don't all keep dogs in coat, and it is not easy. The second thing I then did was I went to the AKC website and I found those breeds that had breeders that were local to me here in Jacksonville, Florida. And I basically sent out a form email, so to speak. I introduced myself. I was very professional. I told them what I was doing, what I was trying to accomplish. Also explained to them that I understood that I'm just some Joe Blow hitting them up wanting to borrow one of their dogs. I didn't expect them to just hand me a dog. I offered to work in their kennels. I offered to come let them teach me to groom the dogs how they wanted it. But then I also explained to them that once I did get a few answers, few and far between, most of them got ignored, because we do have, unfortunately, kind of a bad reputation as pet groomers. The cocker people think we want to shave all their backs, and that's fair. That's what normally happens in a pet grooming salon because that's what pet people want. But so it's not a bad reputation. It's just that they don't think that we can groom to their standards as a general rule. So you have to offer yourself up to those people. Hey, listen, if you teach me how you do it, I'll come, bathe. I'll come wash kennels out for you for the day or half the day or whatever. And then, explain to them that, okay, well, here's the differences between what you do and what our certification people want us to do. And you show them the information from the certification group so they can see that it's official, because most of them don't even know it exists. So I showed them the information. And so that's how I found my absolutely wonderful American Cocker breeder that I adore. She was already familiar. She had already met another groomer that was certifying, and so she already had an idea, and so that one was pretty easy. But if you explain it to them and then you say, hey, look, when you finish this champion, if you're going to cut them down or whatever, if I could just come to your house, maintain them, or take them for the weekend, or even just for the day, if you're worried, and you come pick them up the next day, whatever it was. Try to be understanding and accommodating with the breeders. And then there's the third option, which is, occasionally in your pet grooming salon, us breeders sell our really nice puppies to pet people, and they end up in your grooming salon and they're gorgeous. So, you do what you do. And those are the three ways that I have found that worked really well for me. And then once I got in with the first breeder, then I was able to use them as a reference for other breeds. And when a breeder hears from another breeder, then they go, oh, okay. And the dog was fine. You can hear them chit-chatting to themselves, about the dog being taken care of and blah, blah, blah. And it kind of, once you get your foot in the door, then it kind of snowballs from there. And you actually will have people like offering you dogs. So that was my experience.
Awesome. I know we just lost Judy. I reached out to her, but let me go ahead. Christine, let me bring you on and your opinion there, or your thoughts on how to find dogs for certifying and competing.
Yeah. Well, similar to Yvonne, I handed out business cards, made those contacts. I had a couple of breeder friends who did referrals for me. And then two that were competitors that I reached out to. And when I was at intermediate level, it's not as tough. But once you get into intermediate level, the you need to step up your game. So at that point, I reached friends and really hit a lot of dog shows in my area and a portfolio of my work. And just like Yvonne said, the credentialing is that I was working for and that I meant business. I was serious about what another place was the kennel, a Badger Kennel Club member too. So to be made in the dog show world. Perusing the dog shows is probably, you're going to spend a certain amount of time making work at for free or at a discount in exchange for building your portfolio. But it's kind of a trade. So another thing, if you go to the dog shows and you are going to try to make any contacts there with, do it ringside, don't do it when they're just coming out of, do it in the prep areas. Do it in the morning, or not in the morning usually, but mornings and ringside is never a good idea because then it's not going to go well. So,
Good point.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, awesome. And then Judy, she just said they're having storms, which, surprise Texas.
Yeah.
So she'll be back on shortly. So Manessa, what are your thoughts? How did you go about doing it?
So when I first started, I had a really great mentor that lent me a miniature schnauzer. After that, I started working with breeders. And the thing about working with breeders is they're definitely hesitant to give you a dog because this dog that they're giving you is like their pride and joy. And if you mess it up, it could be years of growing coat back. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of breeders are kind of standoffish or not willing to do it. But I always offered to come work for free. So if I wanted to use one dog, I was bathing and maintaining 5 dogs for them once a week or taking lessons from them. Whatever they wanted me to do, I was there to do it. The other thing is understanding, like we're saying, okay, finding dogs, but it depends on what you're finding them for. Because if you're finding them for certification, the standards of the dogs can be a little bit lower. Like you can do a pet dog. And that, like most people say, oh, none of my clients would never let me take a dog, or I don't have any nice dogs that come to the salon. Well, first of all, you should start building relationships with clients because if they trust you and they know you and you present it to them properly, they'll be super excited to allow you to take their dog. Hopefully your certification is within the state and you don't have to travel. That's going to be a little bit harder to ask someone to borrow a dog. But whenever I've presented them to a client, I've usually offered personally myself discounted grooming services. Or like, because let's say they're used to spending $100 a month for grooming, but you need that dog to come in once a week now to maintain it into a trim that they don't really care. They don't want it as much as you want it. So instead of charging them $100 a week for them to come in, I would break it up. You're used to paying $100 a month, so come in for $25 every week, and I'll maintain your dog. That way, they're not having to spend more money. And it is an inconvenience for them to stop what they're doing and to bring the dog to you every single week. So you want to make it as convenient to them as possible. What's the best day that you're free? Not you come when I tell you to come type deal. And the other thing is you need to kind of use your imagination, and you might not have a dog in coat come into your salon, but you can turn it into that dog. So start growing the coat, setting the pattern. You just have to kind of see what this dog could be potentially. I think that's the biggest thing is we don't have to look on a million outside sources for certification. They're there. We just have to make them what we need them to be. And especially, like I said, certification, they're a little bit more understanding that these are pet dogs and they do want it to be as close to breed standard as possible. Then if you're talking competing, like when I first started competing, entry level was pretty much pet dogs. People were going in with pet dogs, but I'll be honest, a lot of the entry level competitors nowadays have some really nice dogs out there. Yeah. So that standard has kind of changed. But especially as you go into the higher divisions, they're going to expect a really high quality dog. So, when you're an entry or when you're just starting and you're trying to certify, you don't need that show dog. You don't need their best in show dog in the kennel to get where you need to get. Later on, after you build a reputation and show people that you're willing to put in the work and that you do have the skill, they'll start to lend you higher quality dogs. But the other option is if this competing is something you really want to do, is get your own dogs.
Yeah.
Because I've been competing for, like I said, almost 12 years, and I still have a very hard time. If you go on, there's some Facebook group, Contest Dog Network, Contest Groomers Uncensored, something like that. Everyone's always looking for dogs. So, like I said, if you're really serious, try getting a dog yourself that you can compete with.
Okay, awesome. I know Judy's still trying too. But any thoughts, you guys, on what anyone has said before we move on? No?
Having your own dogs when you're in
Go ahead.
a higher ranking, a higher level, having your own dogs is really important. A Westie and a standard poodle and an American cocker and then I had a very a semi-owned or a co-owned Bichon. And yeah, if you can manage taking care of all of your own dogs and you're gonna really competition circuit seriously, that's growing your own is very much
Yeah. Awesome. And then Yvonne, you put up your finger.
Yeah. Now this is why I raise and show toy poodles.
Yeah.
But I wanted to add on to the borrowing customers' dogs thing. So what Vanessa said is great. She's like she said, she kind of split it up, and that's great. The customer's already paying that amount of money, but you're wanting them to come in more often because you need to grow hair and you don't want them to get any little knots or anything like that. And so, I had a Bichon that I traveled with that it was a client dog for years and years and years. I mean, this dog practically became mine. And what I did is she was already coming in every 2 weeks for a bath and once a month for a haircut. So I said, listen, if you come every single week, then you don't have to pay for that week in between. That's on me. And she would stay there most of the day. Her mom was a florist and had a florist shop. And so she'd come by. She knew she'd be done by noon. So whenever she'd come by in the afternoon at noon, and Holly just stayed up on a bed on my station. She didn't even go in a crate. She was hoity-toity. But I want to encourage anybody, in particular, if you're going to borrow clients' dogs, this is going to sound, I don't know. Some people think it's rude, but I don't think it's rude. I had a contract with every person that I borrowed their dog. And it stated what I was going to do, what I was providing, and what shows we were going to, and I was going to give them this amount of time for notice. Okay, so we're going in October. We're going to do this grooming competition in Orlando, so it's not far. We'll be back home on Monday. Blah blah blah. I required myself to give them that information in a timely manner. I don't remember what it was. It was like 30 days notice or something. And additionally, the only way they could get out of, if you don't know this person really, really well, the only way they could get out of paying for the extra grooming is for them to allow me to take their dogs, because some people will take advantage of you.
Yeah.
They'll get free bathing and free grooming, and then all of a sudden the dog's sick and can't go. Now you've made your entries and you've spent all of this time and effort on the dog. I'm not saying everybody does that. I'm just saying that it happens. And so the contract kind of makes it more professional to me. If it's done well, it's more professional. It's, you're putting, I have to do this for you and you have to do that for me. Not all one-sided, but if you do this for me and you're trusting me with your dog, I'm going to give you 30 days notice, and I'm going to let you know that when I'm putting my entries in case there's a problem. I was very much about communication with my clients. And so I never, ever had a problem, except the one time there was a lady with a cocker. And as you and I know, a cocker, American cocker in full coat is 2.5 hours of bathing and drying every 3 to 5 days. And so it was, all of a sudden the dog was sick and couldn't go. And I said, well, if she's sick and can't go, then I need to see the thing from your vet. And she said, oh no, I'm not giving you that. And then she went away and never came back. Well, I was already butthurt anyway. I didn't care. But now I had spent all of this time and effort, with this person, and I had absolutely no recourse at all. Not that we would have gone to court over, whatever that intermittent grooming had cost, because it's just not worth it. But most of the time when you present somebody with the contract, after you've talked to them and asked them, hey, is this something you'd be interested in? All right, this is how we're going to do this. Are you still interested? Give them, the first right of refusal. And I always would say to them, look, I'm not going to be offended if you say no.
Yeah.
Because I understand this is your baby, and
I
I'm looking to take them away for, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, however far I'm going, whatever I'm doing, you're trusting me. So I understand if you don't want to be away from the dog that long. And if it was Orlando, we're in Jacksonville, 2.5 hours. I'm like, hey, okay, so we're grooming on Saturday. If I don't get a first place dog, I'm not going to Best in Show on Sunday. So you guys can come down Saturday night and stay at the hotel. And a lot of people were like, oh, cool. I had people come to Atlanta and stay over. I said, you just can't come in when I'm competing with your dog. You can't come in the room.
Yeah.
Other than that, you can do whatever you want, and I'll give the dog back to you as soon as we're done.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. I've been burned like at least 2 or 3 times from clients or from breeders. So, and I do think it looks more professional.
Yeah, it does, the contract. Christine, were you trying to say something?
I agree. A contract is definitely the way to go. There's actually in Competition Grooming Guidebook, there's a contract, the same contract I use with each of my clients. And I got burned too, and I learned very, very quickly. It's like you come from, I'll do this, I need your dog, I need your help to do this, but then past a certain need to be reimbursed, you do need to be sure that your hard will go down the tubes because of exactly why Yvonne said. So yeah, a contract all the way.
Awesome. And then Judy's back.
I'm back.
Hey Judy.
I don't know what happened. Like our power went off, our internet went off. My husband's like, I have no Roku.
It's like,
oh no,
it's not. Well, we were just talking about, one of the topics that kind of bleeds over between certifying and competing is how to find dogs. And then we went into the whole, how to protect yourself when you are using dogs. So I don't know if you have anything else you want to share with that.
Well, what I'm seeing a lot of now is a lot of the newer groomers are actually just taking on the dogs themselves. They're buying their dogs so that they always have something available. I have no idea how they do it. I guess I had kids and not so many dogs. I had more kids than dogs. I don't know. At one time I had both, probably about even.
Sometimes I think I should have done that.
But I'll see these girls that have they have 5 or 6 dogs. They have one for each class, and one for each, for every competition they go to. So of course that makes it easier. When I was certifying, I always used client dogs, and I guess I was really, really lucky because I had great clients. They did really trust me. I never had anybody back out on me. I don't even think I was just lucky enough that I didn't even have a dog get sick, before it was time to go in the ring or whatever. So for me, it was clients, and again, using, borrowing from breeders and working with the breeders. And honestly, I always traveled with my own dogs. I never borrowed one from anybody at a show. I always, and believe me, we would stack them up. We would have 5, 6, 7 dogs in the van with us, and then line them up on the wall in the hotel. And that was back when they would let us all, have all the dogs in the room. Now they're really strict. You have, a dog area. You don't get to do all that. So it's changed a lot. But, every once in a while you get lucky that you get the client who has a really good looking dog. Now, where you're talking about how it bleeds from certification into entry level, into competition. Client dogs are great for entry level, but then as you move up, you've got to have better quality dogs. And every once in a while you get a client with a good quality dog, and then it's awesome because you can take a dog with you that's familiar with you, and you know exactly how your scissors cut on that dog, and that dog knows how, what's next and how the groom goes and the dog, you work really well together. So borrowing a dog is nice when you can, but it's not always perfect. It's not always a perfect thing either.
Okay, awesome. Let's move on to the next topic. Again, I have my list. One of the other ones that it seems kind of like bleeds over is what to wear was a big one that I saw you guys mentioning.
Can I go first with that?
Yes, you can. You've been absent. We're bringing you back. Yeah. Okay, what to wear?
I love the new clothing line that you are advertising on your show. I've got to say that looks very professional. My mom was Rosie, she still is, Rosie Lang. And she was known in the 90s and early 2000s. She was known for the best uniforms. Like, she dressed everybody to a T.
I still have some.
The grooming industry never looked as good, and the grooming industry has not looked as good since.
I think you're a little biased, Judy.
Well, you have to look at some of the stuff that she made for us. The double-breasted jackets.
And they were beautiful.
And we fit everything from an extra small up to a 4 and a 5X.
Yep.
And sometimes I go and I'll see people in the ring, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, literally, you look like you rolled out of bed. And I get it. You get up at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning to prep the dogs to get in the contest ring. But you always have to, you're the background of that dog. So presenting yourself along with the dog, I think, is really, really important.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a distraction from the dog.
That's true too, yeah.
And part of being in the ring is, and even certifying, is looking professional. Our whole industry, is, we talk about all the time, oh, well, we need to be respected. Well, if you want to be respected, you can't go in and not act professional and not look professional.
Yeah.
I don't wear a lot of grooming apparel these days, just because I don't like anything in my size. It's hard. I'm a little bit bigger now than I used to be. But I've found these great hiking shorts online that I wear, and I love them because they're nylon and they're shorts, but they're stretchy and they look really nice. And I wear the black shorts with, a nice tank top. It might be a leopard print tank top. And then I'll wear a smock over it when I'm in my truck. Yeah. But even, like I said, when I go to the trade shows and I see sometimes the competitors, I'm like, oh, come on, we got to give a little more professionalism in the contest ring. And the judges do see you put forth that effort, but we know it's all about just being the professional.
Yeah, that makes sense. Christine, what are your thoughts on what to wear?
Well, I'm bigger too, so I'll tell you. I mean, Takima was one of my. Their products have changed, and now that I'm really cute little flared bottom drawstring pants don't fit me, so I kind of switching it up, buying the wraparound pants from Takima they tie in the back and in the front. You can wear them over leggings, which is a cute look, even if you're big. But I agree. You have got to, especially that dog. A lot of these competitions are recorded. You're in the background, and if we want to be taken seriously and considered professional, the part is very, very important as well.
Yeah.
Well, and one other thing is, you've got to make sure that your color has enough contrast against the dog.
That's what I was going to say.
A black dog and a black top. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. That makes complete sense.
So here's my add-on. My add-on is, again, pay attention to the color of your dog, because not only is the dog going to blend in, but when the judge is all the way up in the front looking at you and you're standing behind that dog, they can't see anything. Yeah. So if you've got a black poodle and you're wearing a black smock, I just told this to one of my new students, and she looked at me really funny. I said, "Are you going to wear that smock?" because she's got a black standard. She's wearing a black smock. She's a very tall girl. So she's going to be like right behind that dog. And I said to her, I said, you need to get like a light blue or a pink or, something solid behind that dog. That's the other thing. Don't wear anything super busy because then you're a distraction. Like Judy said, you don't want to be a distraction. You just want to be the backdrop for that dog.
Yeah.
Look at this beautiful thing that I have created with my art and my scissors. You want it to stand out against you. So, white dog, yeah, black smock, brown, dark, pretty chocolate brown, dark color, red, something that the dog is going to stand out against. Sometimes you have a multicolor dog, and that's when you go for the light blue or the pink or something that's going to stand out behind anything.
Yeah.
So just be mindful of what you're choosing to wear as well. Not just be more professional. Don't wear Daisy Dukes. Don't wear flip flops.
Oh, the flip flops.
And some people cringe at Crocs, but I will tell you they are very comfortable. And they've got Crocs out now that look very nice. You don't even know. People are wearing Crocs in the ring and you don't know it.
Right.
Because they're really nice. So I don't say don't wear Crocs anymore, but don't wear open-toed shoes. It's dangerous, and you'll get hair stuck in your feet. And trust me, that is no fun. But again, that's unprofessional. I don't wear flip-flops when it's 98 degrees here in Florida, and I still wear closed-toed hiking boots because I have bad feet, and I just learned to live with it. But I'm not going to walk around in flip-flops in a client's house because I'm going to stub my toe and kill myself.
Yeah.
But that was my main add-on was watch your color. Watch what you want to be a backdrop for the dog and let them look at that. Because if they can't see it against you across the room, they might have really liked your groom. And they might have really liked it when they were on top of it. And then they go back up there, especially in like the poodle class in Orlando. We are packed in there like sardines. That's how full these classes are. So if you don't make sure that you're standing out, even if you have a good groom, sometimes you can get lost in the crowd because they stand up there and they go, well, that was really nice, but oh, look at that, So make sure that you're choosing the correct colors for the dog, not even necessarily for you. Even if you only wear that smock for grooming competition with that dog, then okay, so be it. Even if you don't like the color, if it makes the dog look good, then do it.
Awesome. And Vanessa?
So everything that I was going to say, you guys have pretty much already covered. But some things that I could add on, like, for example, the wearing a color behind your dog that makes sense. The reason for that is also you don't want your dog to drain into the background of your color, but it's really important for them to see the outline of your dog, the silhouette. So that really stands out when you're wearing the correct color. So you might want to like purposely stand behind your dog as opposed to sitting down. One of the biggest things that I see in the ring is when the judge, after they look at your dog, they walk away, and then the competitors are on their phones, they're sitting down in their chairs, they're talking to someone else, and then the judge is still looking around. So as opposed to like what you're wearing, you're always presenting the dog until they say you can rest now.
Yeah.
So that's really important. Also, there's like a fine line between wearing something, I always think that you should do like a step above what you would wear professionally in the salon. So how my hair is now is pretty much how I would go into the salon, but I would do it a little bit better for the competition. I don't wear makeup in the salon, but I would wear makeup for the competition. I think it's just like showing a level of respect for our profession and the seriousness of the competition being in the ring. So if I was a judge, I would appreciate that personally. Definitely wearing comfortable shoes. I've made that mistake a couple times. I've tried to do like a little bit extra fancy shoes, and then they were killing me by the time. I've tried to wear dress pants, but then all the hair in the world gets stuck to it, in the worst places.
Nobody wants to be itchy there in the middle of a competition.
Yeah. So, you know, you don't wear just your everyday grooming jacket that you wear every day. I have one reserved for competing. And now for competitions, you can have a sponsor. You have to check the rules, but a lot of times you can have a sponsor on your jacket, or you can have your name on there. I think it's really cool to see the competitors' names embroidered on their jacket. And I would also say one lesson that I've learned is I would get my nails done before I would go into the ring. I don't wear acrylic nails ever unless I'm doing something fancy. So one time I said, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get these nice nails. It's going to be awesome. I went out into the ring and I couldn't hand strip my dog's eyebrows because I couldn't figure out how to do it with these stupid.
Get the active length. If you don't wear them normally, tell them you need active length or sporty length, and they'll do them, and they're great.
Yeah.
So mine are gross. I don't do nails, so that's interesting to hear.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lesson that I learned along the way, is trying to dress up nice, but trying to find that fine line of comfortable and professional, but not too much.
Yeah.
Well, and like you said, you know, and makeup doesn't have to be full face makeup. It can be a little bit of mascara, a little bit of eyeliner, or just some lip gloss. It doesn't have to be a whole lot. I mean, I know a lot of times lip gloss, especially hair, gets really sticky with lip gloss, but you know, you can get something matte so it doesn't stick. Just a little something, or even, you know, for me, I tell girls, if you're going to wear your hair in a ponytail all the time, putting on an earring dresses up that ponytail like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be a big hoop earring that, you know, goes down to your shoulder. Just a little bit of an earring, you know, because you still want to be safe. If the dog jumps on you, you don't want him to be able to pull it out. But, you know, just those little things, the little accents make a big difference in how you look and then your presentation.
Yeah.
Also, if you happen to place with that dog and they take pictures and it's going online and going to groomer, you want to look good in that picture with that dog.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I have something to add real quick. So let's say you don't really have a fancy smock, but underneath it, you can wear a nice shirt too. Mm-hmm. Because when they do take the picture, you could take your smock off and then present your dog with that shirt underneath it. Or, you know, if you do get into best in show at the end of the show, the groomers present themselves a lot more dressed up than how they did in the beginning of the show.
A dog show.
Yeah.
So that's something I didn't know that the first time I got into the ring, and I was looking around and I'm like, oh my God, she's wearing a dress.
Yeah, you're like, wait, where did she get that?
Yeah.
Do those come with the tables? And that's another thing with your table too. You want to make sure if you're grooming a black dog, you want to put something over your black table, because, you know, black dog, black smock, and black table, you completely lose the dog. So you kind of need to coordinate what you're putting on the table with what you're wearing too.
And then
it all just goes together.
Yeah. And Christine, did you have something to say? I thought I heard you.
Two things. So Judy's totally correct. In fact, they were still draping tables. So when I went into the ring in a big trade show, I think the only dork that drapes their table, so I didn't use it after that class. Like everyone was like, "Oh, look at her, she's all fancy." So I did use it. Cover is really important too. Now with the paw mats, you have so many choices. Cover, color, you can.
Oh my God, I totally did that too, just so you know.
I know. I felt like everyone thought I was really did not.
I know.
But another thing that doesn't show up in photos is do not douse yourself in cologne or forego that at all possible.
Yeah, please don't.
Wash yourself, because you're close, and Yeah, it's hard. It's hard in the ring, and you don't want a stand person either.
And so, okay, wear deodorant though, please.
Yes,
Yeah,
you get
yeah.
sweaty in the ring. They get those lights on you. Those lights are hot.
It's hot.
Yes.
It's very warm.
Yeah.
So yes, personal hygiene and no cologne.
Awesome. Well, let's move on. We're gonna just go ahead, get into the certification stuff. Gonna get into more of the nitty gritty with that. And even though this is a similar question to competition, I think it's going to be different enough. How to prepare / train / how much time does it take to prepare and train and practice? That's what I got from you guys. So who wants to go first? Not everyone jump in at once.
Nobody,
Well,
but I'll do it. I'm always the volunteer. That
You never
is,
stop.
yeah, I know. So, pretty much, there's a whole lot of different answers for that. It depends on what uh, certification association you're going for to begin with. So, you'd have to kind of break it down into a per dog or per practical section, in addition to studying for the written. So, my biggest education is in obviously National Dog Groomers Association. That's who I'm certified with. Um, for me, between travel and studying and practice to finish my whole master certification took me about 2.5 years. And that's because I learned the first time I tried to compete in Atlanta, I took 5 dogs and realized that that was crazy. Sorry, love you. But, I learned that first competition not to take that many dogs, and because it was way too hard on me. So I did one section at a time, and I traveled to Virginia. And at that time, National Dog Groomers also had a show in South Carolina. So for
Oh, that
me,
was a
being in
fun
the
show.
Southeast, yeah, I loved that show. So being in the Southeast, and my best friend lives in Virginia. I met her through grooming competition. If she's watching this, hi Sandra, I love you. So I traveled up there, and then I did Orlando twice, and I did South Carolina once, and um, so it took me about 2.5 years total. And obviously that's just time, because you can't just go certify any weekend at any old show and anywhere. You have to plan for those shows, and you have to plan for those dogs ahead of time, and what you're going to do and get yourself ready. So for me, that's how long it took me to get my master's. An American Cocker Spaniel prep and maintaining coat, like I already said, that's 2.5 to 3 hours every 3 to 5 days, depending on the dog. And then the terriers are usually a little bit easier if you're not hand stripping. You can get away with a bath and blowout every couple of weeks, and the customer coming to you or whatever you're doing. If you're hand stripping, that is a whole different ball game, and I'll let Manessa tell you about that, because I know it, but I'm going to leave that to her, because she's awesome with her wire foxes, and I had a miniature schnauzer. And then I have poodles, and so that was easy enough for me, because I had a toy poodle. And if you're doing them in a pet trim, that's a weekly bath. For most dogs, unless they're crazy weird coat and they mat in 2 days. Even in a modern trim, your little toy poodle is 35 minutes of bath and blowout and trim the nails every week. So you have to figure out what your pace is per dog, what you're doing, and what association you're certifying through, because that can make a huge difference too. IPG, I think, is very similar. I've looked into them. But ISEC is they have a more prolonged, in my opinion, if it's still that way. I haven't looked in a long time, so don't quote me. But they have a longer process and a more in-depth process, so that would be longer. So there's no easy answer to that question, is what I'm trying to say. So that's what I know, and what I've done, and what I teach my groomers that I'm teaching to prepare for competition or certification. Okay, you have this dog. This is what you need to do every week. Blah blah blah. So it is a big time, investment, and it's a labor of love. So whoever's next.
Yep. Whoever wants
Um,
to go.
I was going to say, and you don't have to just certify at trade shows. I know National Dog Groomers offers different places. I think they're coming to Houston here really, really soon. And
Oh,
if you've
cool.
got a really nice salon that's nice and big and can accommodate several groomers, you can actually host a certification workshop at your store. NDGAA is great for doing that. I think ISCC does that too. And like you said, ISCC, they have a very in-depth certification that includes coat and skin, which I think is quite often overlooked. Um,
Yeah.
it's a
Is
really
it this
important part of
Dermatech thing?
everything that we do in dog grooming. Um, and then, of course, now we do have Terry DiMarino does the bather certification as well. We've got ISCC, IPG, NDGAA, and then Terry DiMarino does a bather certification, which I believe covers skin and coat as well.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
yeah, yeah, and that is an all-day seminar, usually at one of the Barclay shows. I've not seen it at other shows, but I could be wrong. You could always check in with Terry D and see, where she's hosting that. But it's an 8-hour class, and you come out with a certification. Um,
Oh, sweet.
and I think it's fantastic, not just for bathers. I think every groomer should take it. Um, but yeah, I like the way that you can go. You don't have to just go to trade shows, because I do understand trade shows get expensive. You have to travel. You have to travel with dogs, and then if you're like, we're in Texas. We have ISCC here in Texas. It's a 4-hour drive for me. Unfortunately, I never go to that show because it's the same time as a motorcycle rally, and well, my husband and I go to the motorcycle rally. But it's a good show, and it's been going on for a really long time. And I know she does certification at other trade shows. I think they will also go to you like NDGAA does, and I'm pretty sure IPG does the same thing. They will, if you've got a salon and you want to host, or you've got a friend that's got a salon and they want to host, it makes it easier for all the groomers, because then you don't, if they're hosting in your hometown, you don't have to get a hotel and all that stuff, and your dogs are close, and it just makes it a lot easier. Um, so I didn't I would compete with the dogs that I was certifying with sometimes, but then I liked the kind of like the satellite certification classes. Another thing is that one of the things that groomers start with is they always start with the non-sporting when they're starting their certification, and it's because there are less dogs in the non-sporting class. So if you're kind of, you want to get your feet wet and get in there, non-sporting is a great class to start with because you have fewer dogs to study. So, you get in there, you do your study time, you take your written exam, you do your poodle, and that kind of gives you, I kind of feel like it gives you that, oh, wait, I did it, I could do it. So if you take
Mhm.
on the easiest task first, then move on to the next, with then you do your sporting next, then you do your terrier, and your terrier, you don't do just one dog, you do two dogs. You have a short-legged and a long-legged. And like you said, you might do a hand strip breed, or you might do like a schnauzer and do a clippered breed. But I think that's kind of usually how they suggest that you do it, is you start with your non-sporting, then go to your sporting, then go to your terrier, and then you do, is it your masters from
Mhm.
there? Yeah.
Yes.
And that's your big test. And so you start off slowly and take it a little bit at a time. And not everybody passes the first time, and it's okay. You can redo it.
I didn't.
Yeah, it's like taking the bar
I
exam. Just
I
keep
failed the
going.
Yep.
crap out of that written test. I was not prepared for that written test at all. It's pretty much the story of my life with tests. So
Well, when we've all been out of high school forever, and they're like,
yes.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
You want me to
Oh
do
gosh.
what?
yeah, yeah. And I missed one question because I overthought it,
That
and
happened to
it
me.
said the question was so tricky. It was the legs on a Bichon are column like, and I was like, well, the front legs are, but the back legs aren't. So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, why are you overthinking this? Um,
Mhm.
And the other thing is, when you're certifying or you're competing, get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
Don't drink 6 cups of coffee before you start. If you're a coffee drinker, have the 1 cup so that you don't get a headache.
Yeah.
But Liz Paul always told me, get your good night's rest, and we know how good Liz Paul was about that. So don't go crazy on the caffeine, and make sure if you're not a breakfast eater, just get a little something or have something with you so that you kind of get nervous, you get a little munchy, have it there with you.
Okay. Awesome. Christine.
I would everything that she said, plus, yeah, like Yvonne said, it's kind of an open-ended path, I think. I don't add. I think we've answered that very, very well so far.
Awesome.
And my mic cut out for quite a while, so I couldn't hear a whole lot.
Oh. They covered a lot.
Yeah.
Manessa, do you have anything to add?
I do.
Okay, awesome.
Okay. So I definitely second what Judy said about getting a good night's sleep. Going to the shows is very fun, and you see a lot of friends, and you don't want to party the night before, especially when you're waking up super early. The other thing is, if you're waking up really early, like one mistake that I made is I would drink a lot of Red Bull in the morning, and my hands, I'm nervous when I go out there to compete. So I'm like, my heart was racing and my hands were shaking, and I couldn't figure out why. So actually, if I don't drink anything caffeine related, I did a lot better in the ring, and I would not have thought of that. So I figured that out after a couple of times of making the mistake, no partying and no caffeine in the morning. Also, how to train for them. I think this is like what separates the good from the average. Like we've already talked about before, this is like something that you really have to dedicate to. So I always say, okay, well, first of all, I recommend to people that they start with whatever dog they feel the most comfortable with. So if that is Poodles or Bichons, start there. But if you're more comfortable with Terriers, start there to get your feet wet. Don't pick something that's the hardest for you.
Right.
And then once you decide what dog you're doing and where you're going to compete or where you're going to certify, then I would pull open my calendar and say, okay, they require 6 to 8 weeks of coat growth, or enough to make a noticeable difference. So what that means is, some dogs grow faster than others, and some people can't handle a huge before and after. Others can go in there with the 10 inches of coat growth and make this beautiful product afterwards. But one thing that I've learned from competing is there are some judges that really care for that huge difference that you make. And then there's other judges that just want to see that perfect result, and how you got there isn't always as important. So like at the end of the day, your dog has to be finished. So if you go in there with too much coat growth, you're done. You have a non-completed dog. So figure out your dog, how fast they grow, how much coat growth do you need to make that before and after. And then from there, once you have that number, okay, let's say it's 6 weeks of growth I can handle and make that before and after that I need. Then you go from the date of your test or your competition and count 6 weeks back. And that's your last haircut before the show. And then 6 weeks before that, and then 6 weeks before that. And then you mark it on your calendar so that you're never missing a haircut. You're always practicing under 6 weeks of growth, not, oops, I missed an appointment. This is 7 or 8 weeks of growth. And this one now to catch up, we only did 4 weeks of growth, because you're not getting a realistic um, you're not practicing realistically what you're going to be experiencing in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also timed in this competition and for certification. So you got to figure out what is your time frame that you're allowed, and then figure out, like, your first couple of practices are just getting the haircut down, figuring out the groom. And then after that, you start practicing your time, making sure your time is going to match and be accurate. So I personally recommend, if you want to start, try to figure this out like 4 to 6 months at least ahead of time before the competition. Don't just a month ahead of time say, oh, I got this dog, I'm going to go ahead and try to certify and wing it. That usually doesn't work out best. And so I kind of do it like almost like you're competing for a sport. You're training. It's a serious thing. I never groomed a dog that I was working on. Well, I have, and I've made a lot of mistakes, like after work, because you're tired, or at work, because then people are talking to you and the dog is moving and this and that. Where in the competition, you're not being talked to. You do have that time to focus. So I would come in on my day off and work on the dog, or work on the dog after hours when no one's in, whatever. A time that you can focus, like take it serious. And at the end of the day, everyone always asks, like, why compete? Why certify? And to me, it's about going through the certification process was not so I can have the title afterwards, but it was the experience, training, and learning from it. So I took my dogs to, for example, Yvonne for lessons. And I came out of there wanting to be a master at the dog that I was competing, not just like skimming by. Like, I didn't barely pass. I want to say I'm a certified master groomer, and I can now do a seminar of my own on this dog because I've learned it and have gotten every bit of information from everyone that I can to be an expert in this breed. And that's, to me, what it's all about. So I highly recommend that when you do start training and learning, that you take it serious, take your time, and then when you're ready and you feel confident, then go out and do your thing. That's it.
And like you said, know your time. I think a lot of groomers go in there and they don't realize, an hour and 15 minutes sounds like a lot of time, and it really isn't. You kind of have to time yourself that I need to be done with this part of the dog by this time, and I need to be, I need each leg gets 10 minutes, or, I get this many minutes on the head. And one of the things you want to do is you always want to make sure that you have time in the competition to go around your dog one time and then go back over it fully again. So like you were saying that, some girls go in with, 10 weeks of coat and they're comfortable with it. When you're first entering, don't do that, because you want to finish the dog. If you later on you want to increase your skill and allow yourself to do that, that's great. But early on in the very beginning, make it as easy as you can for yourself, because you're already going to be just as nervous as can be.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I really like what Vanessa brought up about, like, why should you certify, and sort of what it means to you. But also that kind of covers something else that I'd like to cover really quick, because I want to talk about these different organizations, because we kind of brought them up, but just kind of to go over to viewers how they can find all this stuff we're talking about. How to encourage newcomers. That was something that we talked about in the chat about wanting to go over. So Vanessa already kind of explained why she wanted to do it. What would be what you guys would tell people to encourage them to get into this?
Well, I think that your pet owner is actually becoming a little bit more savvy. They're asking about that. They want to know what your qualifications are. And having the certification on top of recommendations from your other clients is great. Especially with this, with us, because it's not mandatory. It shows that you took the initiative to go that extra step to make sure that you could be the best groomer and provide the best service for them. I always saw my clients always appreciated it. They loved the fact that I competed. They loved the fact that I had my certifications. And it did make a difference. And now as I've gotten older and and I'm grooming now in my older I'm amazed at how sometimes I'm you look at yourself and you're like, I'm not really that great of a groomer, am I? And then you kind of see your stuff and you go, oh wow, I do have a good um um reputation because
Yeah.
I'm getting, all of these recommendations and people are, giving out my phone number and your clients speak very highly of you. And, and I can look at my dogs compared to other dogs and I'm like, okay, I can see where my step up is. Now, I would never go and go, oh, your dog is not up to par, but I would always, if I see somebody that needs help, I like to help them and I want to give them good educational um information when I help them. But I think it helped me a lot because it really just gave me that extra boost. You get a lot of groomers that want to charge, oh, well, everybody charge this price. Well, no, because we don't have the same experience. You haven't done the same things that I've done,
Yeah.
and you don't have the same education that I have. And so, why should you be able to charge the same thing I'm charging? So I think it gives you a boost in all of that because you can advertise that, use it part of your marketing. Um, and it just makes you a better groomer all the way around, not just in the contest ring, in your salon, in your city, in your state.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, and
Christine.
yeah, I was going to say it also really does. If you're having a hard time, like you've kind of hit a rut, switching something to push yourself out of your comfort zone is so important. Burnout and competing, even if it's just for fun, capacity and the itch to do it. But certifying, especially, anytime you're learning something new, will help you push past that for sure. I mean, even just going to trade shows and going to new things and talking to other groomers
And
is
wouldn't you
the key.
I'm sorry, I was going to say, wouldn't you say that competing also is like I always took competing as like it was a private lesson for me.
Absolutely.
I never
Those critiques you get from your judges, what's the word? You can't put a price tag on it, whatever that word is.
Yeah.
And it's also a good reminder, like if you get your salon and you're a good groomer for your area, it's good for you to get, I could do better at this or this or this, because it pushes yourself for sure.
And Yvonne, what about you? I mean, that's something you're used to, encouraging the newcomers.
Well, I always tell them the original reason that I started to do that, believe it or not, is 23 years ago, I would not have come on this show. I was that shy. I didn't have the confidence in my grooming. I knew the people loved me. I knew the dogs loved me. I think that's how I kept half of my clientele in the beginning because they just loved me and they knew I treated their dogs well. For me, it was to prove to myself that I could do that, that I was better at this, that I could do, not the hula skirt on the schnauzer because that's what I was taught. That's not right. How do I make it right? That's not what I'm seeing at the dog show. Oh, what is this head stripping? Oh my God. People say that's awful. You're torturing the dog, blah, blah, blah. So I've always been one that I wanted to educate myself. And so that's what I tell new people. I tell them, listen, you're competing against yourself. That's it. You're certifying for yourself. I heard from when I started my certification journey, I heard from the groomers in my salon that worked for me.
Yeah.
One of the highest paid shops in the town at the time. I heard from, you're just doing this for your ego. You're just trying to feed your ego. No, I'm trying to prove to myself that yes, I can do this better. I can be the best at what I love. And there's that saying, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. Well, that's where I am. I
Yeah.
love grooming. I want to be the best that I can be for myself. And so that's what started. I actually started in competition before certification,
Mhm.
um, because that was the only way for me to learn. There was absolutely nobody in Jacksonville that was even close to what I was doing. And so I had nobody to learn from. I was newbie. There was no breeders that would even talk to me. Blah blah blah. The closest person I believe was Karen Tucker in Orlando, but that was at the height of her career when she was competing and she didn't have time.
And she was a
Um,
single mom.
yes, absolutely. And we have since become very good friends, and I love her. And if she ever watches this, that wasn't anything against her. That was just the facts of the way it was then. And and when I first started, there was only one competition. There weren't
Mhm.
there wasn't A, B, and C. There was just A. So you walked into this competition and you're going up against the likes of Liz Paul and Lindsay Dickin and these people. Lindsay wasn't in yet, I don't think, when I started, but it was right around the same time. And you're seeing these beautiful works of art and you're looking at your little dog and you're going, well, fuck.
Yeah, Liz Paul in her high heels and her little mini skirt and
Oh
the
yeah,
perfect
and the
dog
Bichon.
and a
Oh yeah,
cigarette in
yeah,
her
yeah.
hand.
Yeah, oh yeah, hanging out of her lip. But it was a different world, and you literally you went in the ring and you were up against those people in A division. There was no division of divisions. Um, so for me, like I don't, I think Vanessa said or Judy said, when I got into A division, I'm competing in Orlando just because it's for me. It's not because I want to make groom team. It's not because I want another plaque to put on my wall or that lovely bronze medal I have from Intergroom. Yes, that makes me proud, but it makes me proud of myself
Yeah.
because I was able to push myself and do that. And now I teach people. I mean, in high school, you couldn't get me to stand up in front of the class and read an English paper. And now I'm doing this on YouTube, and I'm teaching classes of people, and now I'm teaching in Orlando. um it's a it's not an ego builder, it's a confidence builder.
Yes.
Yeah.
It teaches you that you can do this, and even if you don't win, now I can't imagine coming into C division now, but I tell people, look, this is a private lesson, just like whoever said that. I don't remember. I'm sorry. That's how I always thought of it. At the time, $50. Hey, I'm going to go groom my dog. I'm going to pay $50. I'm going to spend, and then I'm going to get this judge, this awesome judge like Jay or Judy or somebody, and they're going to come over and they're going to tell me these things to fix on my dog. Well, $50 is a bargain.
Yeah. Yeah, it
I mean,
is.
that's a bargain for a grooming lesson. You've groomed the dog and now you have this person that knows more than you that's going to come look at your dog and go, okay, all right, well, look, he looks like he's got no neck, so you need to do this and that, and look what it looks like. And most of the judges and certification people are wonderful about that. So if you want to start in certification or you want to start in competition, it doesn't matter. What you're doing is, in my opinion, is you're competing against yourself. You're teaching yourself that you are worthy and that you can do these wonderful things, and everything you learn in certification or competition rolls downhill to what you do in your salon, because you build more confidence. Then you build more confidence when you're talking to your customer. So you garner more respect from your customers that you are an expert, because now somebody told you. We all need somebody to tell us that, right?
Mhm.
So for me, that was what it was all about and what it's still all about. I want to keep competing so I keep my skills sharp so I can then pass those things down to my students. And that's what it was for me. It was always a grooming lesson. It was always, if I won something wonderful, fabulous, I would cry. Don't get me wrong, I'm not that person that's, oh yeah, I did that good. I mean, it was a big deal, especially in a big class. When Lisa Leedy put me up with my miniature schnauzer, I was just bawling. I mean, just absolutely bawling.
Yeah.
And because it was a big accomplishment for me, I'd been competing with that dog for 5 years and hadn't won hardly anything. And all of a sudden, somebody saw this beautiful thing that I created, and it was great. And it's just, again, it's a confidence builder, and it a lot of groomers are caretakers, and we don't have a lot of us don't have that bigger personality. We need to figure out how to create that for ourselves, and I think that's these are two of the really good ways to do that.
Awesome. And I like how we kind of, all of us, we kind of went both with the certifying and the competing with that, the newcomers and why you did it. So I'm glad we covered all that. And sorry, my dog was being ridiculous. So I was dealing with her too at the same time. But I love what you said, Yvonne. She's being a schnauzer. Anyway, so
Yeah.
we can get through the certifying here, because this will cover actually some of the stuff you guys want to go over. I have here, I've had it up while we've been talking, are the three different organizations we talked about. We have the National Dog Grooming Association of America, the International Society of Canine Cosmetologists, and the International Professional Groomers. So these were the three that we talked about. And so websites, nationaldoggroomers.com. Let's see. Well, you can see it. ISCC.
Yeah, and I think you should
Education.
be able to add those into your description at the bottom when you put it up on, when you
Okay.
finish posting it on Facebook or YouTube, both. You should be able to add links to those in your description. So if anybody wants
Yeah.
to go there, they can
Okay. Yeah, I can
get
do
more
that.
information.
Because the last
That
one
would
is
be cool.
IPG, ICMG. Sorry, I have my
Yes.
big microphone right here in my face, so I'm kind of like looking at my other screen. So, y'all were talking about like how much time do you have for each category here. So even if you go to the nationaldoggroomers.com, go to the certifications and workshops, you just go down a little bit, and then bam, right here, they have all the testing information, what the status can provide, and then they're showing you your time allotted for each, the non-sporting, sporting, long-legged terriers, short-legged terriers, and then they have information on the written exams. So it's literally right there, smack dab on this website. So you can go directly from here and find out all the information you need to get started certifying with the NDGAA. And then same thing with, it's ISCC.
Yes.
They have their what they're going to require, different tests here you can choose to take, and then study aids and preparatory programs, which is actually really cool that they have all that. I was very surprised. And then the written exams, practical skills exam, they go over every single dog. So I mean,
That's a very well put together program.
yes,
Mhm.
yeah, that's crazy. And then for IPG, they have the different tracks that you can take, and they have safety, and now they have CAT too, which I thought was pretty cool. And again, just like the others, you can go down, pick a track, and it's going to help you figure out exactly what you need to complete the certifications. Because I know on when we were chatting too, especially from Judy, is now with the internet and these web pages, like this National Dog Groomers Association website is way sleeker and better than it was back when I first was doing it with you, Yvonne. It's way, like, they didn't have everything like this in one spot. It was pretty confusing before. Now
They're all learning.
yeah. But it's like you were saying, Judy, and I think you were really talking more about competition, but it applies here. There's no excuse really anymore to not know anything at all. It's really easy to find this information now. I mean, they're really going down into like everything here. So, if you come in and you're like, well, I had no idea. Well,
and even if you're at a show, a lot of these, all three of them are quite, they always have a booth at the show. So even if you're not ready to certify, you can go talk to Pam from ISCC, or you can talk to Jeff from NDGAA, or you can talk to a representative from IPG, and they've got all the information there, and they can help you get started. It just makes it easier.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to interject one little thing,
Okay.
because I think this is super important. we're talking about certifying and competing, you know, what if something happens in your salon and we want to save these dogs? So I really, really think that every salon should be CPR certified.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's just, it's not a hard class. It's one day out of your life for you to learn how to possibly save a life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember
To
taking
see the
that.
signs of what could be a seizure or a heart attack or a whatever. But to be able to sustain that dog long enough to get them to the vet and save somebody's dog's life, um, it might not ever happen to you, but if it does, you would be prepared. So, I forgot to add that on when we were talking about what we wanted to talk about. And I just
Yeah.
really feel like that's super important. Probably one of the first things you should do if you, particularly if you're open your own business, you
Yeah.
really should do some kind of dog CPR training, animal CPR training to just and that's something that's important to people now. These dogs are their babies. They're turning into part of our family, and I don't have a problem
Yeah.
with that. But if you can post that up in the front of your salon or in your van that you're trained in CPR. I have a lot of
Yeah.
elderly dogs now that I've had for 15 years since they were puppies, 16 years. And, it would break my heart to lose one of them and not know what to do.
Yeah.
So I just feel like that's something that maybe just a little add on there that I think that we should also do as professionals.
Well,
Oh
and
yeah.
what I wanted to add too is we're in an age where a lot of us groom alone now. It
Yes.
used to be everybody was in a salon, so you would have, the girl next to you, you would say, "Hey, how does my dog look?" And she would help you correct this or that. When you're grooming
Right.
alone, it's easy to start slacking. It's
Mhm.
Yep.
so easy to start
Oh,
slacking.
the owner doesn't care. It looks fine.
Yeah, it's gonna be fine. They'll never know. But if
Hell
you're
no.
taking
They're
if
not going to notice.
taking your classes and taking your certifications, it just makes you more aware because now you're representing
Yeah.
that, certified groomer thing.
Right.
And so, a lot of groomers are getting right out of school and going right into a van, and they don't have that
They don't have
learning.
anybody to learn from.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need a couple of years of working with somebody. I mean, I know I still sometimes will take the dog out of my van, put it on a leash, and we're walking towards the door, and I'm like, "Oh," you
Whoopsie.
know,
Yeah.
"Oopsie, go back to the
Nobody's
van and
perfect,
fix
Judy.
it." But, it really helps, and even once you get your certification, your education isn't over.
Never.
You've gotta
Yeah.
continue,
It's never
and that's
over.
where yeah, the competitions really help because it really keeps up with your game like Yvonne was saying.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Vanessa, I'm big mouth. We're not letting you talk.
No, it's okay. It's fine.
I think otherwise though, unless you have anything you want to say, Manessa, the only thing I was gonna finish up with the certification stuff is making that differentiation with certified kind of being thrown around by schools or corporate programs and stuff. So I don't know if you had anything else to say about the organizations before we move on to that, Manessa.
Not really. I was just gonna say, like, on the National Dog Grooming Association page, if you're looking for contest rules, that's really important.
Yes, where?
So you would go to like Fun in the Sun tab.
Yep. Scroll down.
Yep, and then probably enter up the on the little pamphlet thing.
This?
Yeah, can you, like, if you download PDF,
Okay.
that will show you all the contest rules, and that's really important because it will tell you, your times, and it will also tell you what's allowed and what's not. So, like, in some competitions, you can shave poodle feet before you go into the ring, where others you can't. They'll also tell you, like, your check-in times versus time that the competition starts. So that's really important, and that's how you would find that.
For whatever show or whatever
Whatever show, yeah.
And don't assume that they're all the same because
Nope,
every
they're not.
contest is different.
Yeah.
Read your rules.
Right. Some contests you have to bring your own table, and
Yes.
other the table is provided. Some of them you don't have electric. You have to have cordless clippers. So yeah, that looks like general contest rules. It's really important to always read over those, every detail of it.
Yeah, because this is about page 18, 19 right here.
Yeah.
So yeah, only cordless clippers allowed in the contest ring.
Yeah, they just started that this year, and I'm struggling because I don't have any.
Yeah, I'm looking at.
I don't want to buy. I don't want to buy a $300 pair of clippers for one.
Well, I was what that I'm probably.
Well,
I'm
and
not
that's
gonna
the thing
pronounce
is
this
you
right.
can't just buy them.
The Heinegear, is that how you say it? Those clippers, the opals.
Heinegear, yeah.
Yeah, everyone's been telling me that they're expensive, but apparently they're great, so I'm considering it.
Well, and here's the other thing: you can't buy a cordless clipper just for that competition. You if you are using a tool on a dog for a competition, you need to be practicing with that tool. So every time you groom that dog, you need to use that tool. You can't just buy a pair of clippers just for that competition. You can't go to a trade show and go, "Ooh, I'm competing in Poodles. I'm buying a brand new pair of scissors." No, buy the scissors afterwards with your contest winnings. Yeah, use the scissors that you've been practicing with. Make sure you get them sharpened before you go. But if I'm going to have them sharpened before I go, I'm going to get them sharpened just before I do their last groom. That's before the competition, so I get one good haircut in, so I know if they're working.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that, and I always cut myself when I get my scissors back at least once.
Yes.
Nobody wants to be bleeding in the competition ring because it's not fun.
Yeah.
I always bring Band-Aids just in case, but you never know.
Right.
Well, let's move on then to what I wanted to talk about, because you brought this up, Judy, and it is important. The understanding what being certified means. Because it's like where I work, people will come in and ask if we're certified. And for me, I think of one of these organizations, like immediately when I hear that. Well, they'll be like, yeah, we're certified through, taking a couple weeks program to learn how to groom.
Yes, that's a certificate of completion.
Yes.
There's a certificate of completion, and then there's a certification.
Yeah.
So.
And I know you said a lot of the grooming schools do that as well. Yeah.
Or even in seminars, you'll get a certificate of completion at a seminar. And I hear groomers go, "Yeah, I got certified in this class." No, you didn't. You got a certificate of completion. That means you took the class. You didn't
showed up
after the class. So, if you didn't test,
I mean, you learned anything. It just means you showed up.
Yeah, you may have been sleeping or chit-chatting with your girlfriend.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is
definitely you came. Here you go.
Yeah, and it's fun to have all those classes, hanging on your wall that you've taken. But your certification is something completely different. I mean, you go, you test, you put in the work. Yvonne took 2.5 years to finish hers. I'm working on year 32. But so when you get that, that's like your college diploma. That's your master's,
Yep.
And it's all those certificates of completion are the classes you've taken, but that certified master groomer is, I have finished. I've done it. I'm good. I know my stuff.
Yeah. Thank you for putting it that way. That was a very good way to put it. I like that.
Yes, I like how you said that. It's very nice. Any more comments on that before we get into what we need to go over for?
I do.
Yes. Go ahead.
So, like, my biggest pet peeve is when people say that they're a master groomer, because it's like, under what? They just, and there's a lot of people that do it. They're the master. I am a master. That's it. I feel like being the master. I'm the master. So, like, and it's really.
I love you, girl. That's awesome. It's true, though. It's so true.
Drives me nuts. And some people say they're a master groomer, and they're not. And also, for anyone that's learning to groom, and they want to go apprentice under someone. Just because they say you're a master groomer, that doesn't mean it. So make sure you can actually go on the website or call the National Dog Grooming
They
Association.
all have lists.
Yep, and find out if they're an actual master groomer or not. So you have to be really careful of that, because I've seen a lot of people get scammed where they're taught by someone who shouldn't be holding a pair of scissors to begin with.
Yeah, there's times, I mean, I've been with Wall Clipper as part of their elite team for years. And, every once in a while they'll do a thing where they, post all of us together, and they'll post us and they'll be like certified master groomer. And I'm always the first one to call them and say, hey, remember, I didn't finish. I'm certified in Poodles and I'm certified in sporting and non-sporting, but I'm not a master, And so, yeah, you're right. I mean, nobody should be taking that. It's not just something you can just add on to the end of your name without earning it.
It's an abuse of the title. Yeah.
It is an abuse of the title. And it's not fair for those who have really gone through with all of it, because it's a lot of work.
We worked really hard. Yeah.
Yeah. It also took me probably about 2 years to become certified as well. And funny story is I've been asked 3 times now, what does NCMG stand for, or what is that? How do I pronounce my last name?
Yeah. Multiple occasions here too. Yep.
Yeah. Where are you from?
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. I just also, when I went to grooming school, they mentioned something in their pamphlet about becoming a certified master groomer. Maybe that they help you prepare for that or something.
Yeah.
So I thought that when I graduated from school that I was going to be certified master groomer. And then I found out that no, that's a whole separate thing. I will say, though, that if you did go to grooming school or through a training program, that is the best time to then try to go get your certification through any of these places, because now you have all this information fresh in your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
true.
Your skill level might not be there, though, to do the hands-on, just coming out of school, depending on your school. I mean, if you're going to a 1 month school or a 3 month school, I'm very much of the idea that I think we should all apprentice for 2 to 3 years.
Absolutely.
Just because you get faster, you learn your skill more. I see a lot of people that, they argue about, oh, you should be able to do this many dogs in a day. Oh, well, if you're doing more than this many dogs, you're not doing them right. Well, you know what? Our skill level as we get older and we do it more often gets higher, we get faster, and so it changes. So I always think that to learn everything that you need to know, you might learn Poodles on the most perfect poodle, but then what happens when you get a poodle that's too long, or get a poodle that's too necky, or anything? You, after doing years of Poodles, then you can go, okay, this is the perfectly built poodle, this is not, this is how I fix this one, but you don't get that the first time around right after school, right when you've finished a 6-month program. So yeah, I'm big on the belief of working with somebody at least 2 years, if not 3.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion. That doesn't mean you have to do it.
My first certification dog was in Career Start. So I started right away, but I was very lucky. My school, I did 900 hours. So that was the most that was offered. And then my mentor that I was telling you about, I met her. She was my very first job that I took. So I was very lucky to start and find someone to help me from the beginning.
Well, and there's some people that come in with a natural talent. Grooming is such an artistic thing. You either have an eye for it or you don't. There's some people that could do a 900-hour course and certify like you did. And there's some people that could do 1,800 hours and still not be able to certify.
Yeah, and that's okay too.
And that's okay too. Yeah.
However long it takes you, it takes. Each one of us are individuals, and it takes a while to develop the eye, for sure.
Yes. Yeah. And some people.
I've been grooming for almost 10 years before I even attempted it.
Yeah. Yeah. And see, for me, I kind of got thrown into it. It was, for me, everything was boom, boom, boom. Like, my mom had been a groomer. Then I was working vending shows with my parents, working as a vendor at the shows when I met Liz and Terry and Kathy Rose. And I was like, oh, that's what I want to do. Well, I had grown up in a grooming household, but my mom wouldn't allow me to groom. So, when I finally went behind her back and learned.
Oh crap, is that what I did wrong with my kid?
Yeah, my mom's like, who wants to be a groomer? You'll never do anything with your life.
No, I probably should have done that. Yeah.
Behind your back.
Well, yeah, I mean, some have it better than others.
Let's get into the competition stuff now that we've covered all that. But luckily, a lot with the certification, it really does kind of bleed over.
Absolutely.
So we've covered a lot of that already. But we'll go on to this with competing. What are the judges? What are they judging / looking for? Is what I have. Who would like to go first? Not everybody raised their hand at once.
I'll do it.
Come on,
I'll do it. Throw me under the bus. I'll take it. I have found, and this was the hardest thing for me to swallow, okay, because I'm a very literal person. And so sometimes the interpretation of the breed standard can be different. There are things, I can't think of anything right off the top of my head, but there are things that, a judge, one judge will say to you, like I had a judge tell me that my English cocker's head wasn't domed enough. Really?
Way to go.
Yeah. And this is a big person in the industry. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to get myself in trouble because I've already done enough of that. But when that happens, as a newbie, you get very discouraged. And I did, because I thought, honestly, this is an uncensored show. I thought, what the fuck? Like, what are you telling me? That's completely incorrect from everything everybody has ever said to me. So I think the biggest thing that I want to tell people when they're competing is, again, you're competing against yourself. If that judge tells you something that is not true, like that, for example, go back. Don't get butthurt. Just say, thank you very much. They may have had 3 or 4 other things to tell you that you thought, oh, yep, now I see that. That doesn't look right. Take it all with a grain of salt and take it home. Go back and read your breed standard. Maybe talk to a breeder. Do some research. Look at some more pictures on the breed club website. Whatever you have to do to confirm that you are correct, because maybe that judge was having an off day. Maybe that judge doesn't know that breed. How many breeds do we have, people?
Mm-hmm.
They can't be perfect. So, but you also can't be afraid to stand up for yourself. I once had a friend that corrected Jay Scruggs about, I believe it was, I can't think of the, damn, the breed name just left me. But anyway, she was able to go to him and say, hey, this is not correct. I need you to look that up in the breed standard. And he did. So there are some judges that will do that. They'll go look and they'll say, oh man, you know what? I'm really sorry. I didn't know that. And you did a really nice job and this looks good. And they'll backtrack and they'll tell you that they were incorrect. But there are some judges that won't do that. They will stand behind what they think and what they feel like is their opinion, no matter what. And that's fine too. But the bottom line is that a judge is a judge is a judge. They're judging your work based on their own opinions, no matter what we want to think. Their opinion of that breed standard is X, Y, Z. So what I tell most people is, if you're going to get seriously into competing, make a judge's book. Write the judge's name down. Write what they told you in their critique, shorthand or whatever that you can remember, because we're only going to retain 2 or 3 things. They might tell us 10 things that's wrong, but you're only going to retain 2 or 3. So take those 2 or 3 at a time and start to improve what you're doing, and go back and do your own research and make sure that that's correct, because nobody's perfect. I expected all my judges to be perfect, and I expected them to know what they were talking about, and they should. But again, we can't know every single breed in and out. That's why in AKC, if you go to be a judge, or in UKC, you go to be a judge, you get kind of certified in each, breed section. Okay, we've learned how to judge, sporting group, and we've learned how to judge herding group, and we've learned, now you're an all breed judge because you learned these things. And that's even harder in grooming competition, because we also have to know the breed standard and how the haircut goes to make it right, to make it look like that, even if we don't have that. If I had an English cocker with a domed top skull, I would be forced to try to make that top skull flatter, because that's their breed standard. They're not supposed to have a domed top skull, but Americans do. That's why they have the little crown thing. So the biggest thing is, don't get discouraged if you don't win the first time. Don't get discouraged if somebody tells you different than what you think you know. Go back and confirm you know that, and then go, okay, that's cool, and move on. And if you go under that judge again and they tell you the same thing, don't be afraid to either correct them or just say, I'm not certain that that's true, and I appreciate your opinion. Thank you for everything you've done, but maybe you might want to check on that. Don't be afraid of them. They're not God.
Awesome. Manessa, what are your thoughts on that? What are they judging / looking for?
So I would say some things that they're looking for. One thing, like a term that you're going to hear over and over again, is the breed profile. That's like so important. The essence of the breed, the expression. These are things that are really they stand out, your outline. So sometimes we're so focused on getting the perfect scissor finish, but it doesn't matter how good the inside is if the outside isn't correct. So I think that's something very important. Also, symmetry is something that I've really struggled with. Sometimes I'll have one leg slightly larger than the other, normally because I'm in a rush and I just paying attention to too many other things. So symmetry is very important. Some judges do look for before and after. Like I had mentioned before, other judges really just want to see the finished product. And I've had a really hard time trying to figure this out, especially with hand stripping. I honestly personally feel like it's one of the hardest groups to compete in, because you have a lot of factors at play. Like, for example, you cannot bring certain breeds into the ring with 6 to 8 weeks of coat growth.
No, absolutely not. That's not going to work.
No, you will have a blown coat. So in the rules, It does say enough to make a noticeable difference. So I have brought wire-coated dogs into the ring with way too much coat growth, with not enough coat growth, with blown coat. Like, I didn't know they had a blown coat, but sure enough, once I started stripping, there it was, skin. So trying to find that is very confusing. And also, when I say some judges care about the finished product versus technique, especially in hand stripping, personally, if I was a judge, I would be a stickler for no thinning shears. If that dog is not meant to be thinning sheared or scissored anywhere, that's what that means. But I've placed third and open with the wire that For the first time, I put thinning shears on the legs and on the underline. And it was crazy because they came up to me and they asked me, what other technique did you use to groom this dog? And I was like, oh, fuck.
I did it. I have to admit it. I can't lie.
The reason why I did it was because I saw another open level competitor a couple years ago place after doing that. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, she's breaking the rules. And she won first and won best in show with the dog.
Yep.
So I told them and they placed me third. And it was awesome win. And I talked to the judge afterwards and I said, you know what the heck? Like, is this okay or is it not okay? Because I kind of felt like the judges were not too thrilled with that, but then I placed third. I don't understand. And she said that for her, it was about the final product. So if you need to do a little touch up with the thinning shears to get that perfect outline, then she's okay with that.
Sorry. And now the cat is up too.
No.
None of us know what it's like to have dogs in our house. We have no clue.
No clue.
Yeah, so I guess that's kind of difficult. And then I've also had people tell me groom the dog to what the judge prefers. And I found that to be a very draining circle because like, how do I know what the judge prefers? I have to basically lose a couple times under that judge or Facebook stalk them, see what they've put
that
up.
Doesn't seem right.
It doesn't.
I had the audacity to ask one time in a competitors meeting, and you should have seen the looks I got.
Yeah, but I've heard that a lot.
And I'm like, really? You know?
Yeah, because you hear it and then you try to match that and it never really works out. And so it's very like, you know, okay, this judge likes a before and after, and then you go in with all this coat, but then they didn't end up choosing you anyways because the finished product wasn't perfect or whatever.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I think you need to groom to your liking at the end of the day. So that has also hit me for like, I started getting involved in show grooming. And then I took that show grooming into the competition ring because I thought that's what this was.
Yeah.
Is grooming to breed standard. And multiple times, like I can give you an example for the wire fox. To breed standard, they're supposed to have a thick jacket so that when they go through the shrub, it protects their body. But what's placing in the ring is 1 or 2 layers of coat.
Yep,
like
stripping them down really tight.
Very tight to the body. And I'm like, but that's not what I see out in the ring, and that's not what I read in breed standard. So that has killed me. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I decided, you know what? I'm going to groom my dog to the way that I think it should be done. And the judge is either going to like it or they're not. The same with Portuguese water dog. I have trained under someone for a year solid every week, doing like 5 to 7 Portuguese water dogs in a session, just like water dog boot camp. I was so thrilled to take my dog into the ring, and I got snubbed like you wouldn't believe. They wouldn't even give me a critique. I stood in the ring, everyone left, and I'm just standing there waiting for my critique. Never came over and gave me a critique.
What?
And I believe it's because they didn't understand it. They didn't know how to critique it. You know, I did a 7 on the back half that you shave. And they said, I took it to someone else for a critique because I wanted to know, like, what the heck? And they said it was too long. But I learned in the show ring that you do a 7, and it's not to make it completely smooth, but you leave a little hair so you can marcel that coat and show off that natural wave, even in the back end. But to the person that I asked, it should just be a 10, not thinking about bone structure or coat or anything like that. So that's fine, you know. But I also had a judge who was from another country. It was like a guest judge. Didn't know what a Portuguese water dog was. I'm not kidding. He said, "Oh, what breed is this?" And I was like, "I am screwed."
Well, and
Right.
they do have the AKC book there for that very reason. On the ring steward's table, there is an AKC book for the judges to refer to, and professionally, that's what should have been done.
Well, what I'm curious about is when you sign up to compete, you enter the breed. They typically ask you what breed you're competing with.
Right.
Yeah, your ass should be studying that before I get there if you're going to judge me.
You shouldn't be needing the book right at the last moment. You should be like Yvonne said, studying it. So,
it was a Lao Chen. Sorry, it just came to me. I'm sorry.
It's close to the water dog, right?
Yes, that's what reminded me and made me think of it.
Yeah, and so for a long time I got discouraged about competing with that breed, and it was a wavy coat type, which was even more different than like your typical curly. But at the end of the day, if I do get another wavy coat type Portuguese water dog, I'll definitely go out there and compete again. So just don't get discouraged. Do your own thing. Get critiques every time that you can, because not only is it a lesson, but it can really open your eyes. Sometimes I thought I should have placed, and then when they critiqued me, I was like, oh my God, duh. Of course.
You say that because in the late 90s and early 2000s, everybody competed with Portuguese. Do you remember that, Yvonne?
Yes.
When there was always not one, not two, but there would be 3, 4, 5 Portuguese water dogs in the ring.
Yep, we used to see a lot of them.
All
that
the
was
time.
before my time.
Yeah.
Sorry
about that.
Well, we can kind of go into you then there, Judy. What are your thoughts on the judging and looking for thing?
So one of the things, you both Yvonne and Manessa talked about what the judges are looking at in the end, but what they're seeing at the beginning is also very important. They're looking for clean coats, clean clipper lines. They want to make sure that your coat has been washed and prepped properly to get the groom that you're looking for. They're looking for mats. They're looking for mats in those dogs, and I can tell you that I've seen so many dogs not placed because they find the slightest pin mat in your coat. You need to make sure that all mats are out. They're looking for your nails to be not only cut, but filed. They're looking for that prep work, clean ears. If you're not an ear plucker, let the judge know, hey, I don't pluck ears because this particular dog, the vet doesn't want the ears plucked, but the ears are clean. And so, yes, they look at profile, they look at balance, they look at
Symmetry,
and they look at the proportion, and they're looking at your scissor work and your clipper work, but they're also looking at what you did in the beginning. You don't hear about it as much, but the judges do take notes as they're going over the dogs in the very beginning. So what you want to do is when you've got a check-in time and you've got a competition beginning time, get in there as close as you can to the check-in time. Don't come strolling in 5, 10, 15 minutes before the contest starts. Get there early. Comb through your dog. Make sure that there aren't any mats in the coat. Make sure that you've got everything that you need. There's nothing worse than a competitor having to stop and tell the judge, oh my God, I didn't bring my clipper, or I don't have the right blade. Make sure that you are ready, you're set up. They want to see that you're ready for that competition. And these are the little things that they don't really say a whole lot about, but they do look at. Always make sure you have a good comb for your judge. If you know that you tend to have, little tiny mats here and there, don't put out a really fine tooth comb for them to go through the dog with. Make sure you do have a comb ready for your judge. When you're finished with your competition, they want to see a clean table and a comb on the table. Don't have your judge come to the table with a table full of dog hair and you're standing around and you don't have a comb and you're really not ready for
that happened to me, Judy.
I got kicked out of a competition for turning my back on my dog for a minute. So
I'm having flashbacks.
Yeah, girl, one time I asked Jonah Anderson to critique my dog right after she judged me, and she gave me third place, and I wanted a critique. I was entry level, and she looked at me and said, "Sure, come by after you groom it." I was like,
"Oh, Cheryl's like that."
Oh my God.
But you want to make sure
she's very
that
blunt.
Yeah, she's hilarious. I love it. I love to tell her that joke because every time she looks at me, she's like, "Are you ever going to forget that?" No, never will.
Nope, not going to happen.
But your prep work is just as important as your finished work. And I mean, we just had the Texas grooming show, Groom Texas here, and I was the ring steward. And I tell you, talking to the judges, sometimes it comes down to, oh my God, I found a mat in the dog that's perfect had a mat in it. And that can take you down faster than anything.
That's such a great point because prep work, I think, is so overlooked by groomers. And I've personally had 2 times in the ring with a mat in the armpit. So, and it happens too when we're using product because we spray the leg and then we move the leg by the arm here. And so we're like literally making a mat as we're grooming the dog. In check-in time, they give you that option to tell them, is there anything I should know about the dog before you get started? And that's where you could tell them, my dog has an ear infection, or I don't pluck the ear hair, or, it chewed its foot here or whatever. So that's a really great point. Be there on time. And from my perspective of having 2 mats in my dogs, you never have downtime. You are combing from start to finish.
Yeah. And I have to giggle when you talked about when the judge asked, "Is there anything I need to know about your dog?" One of the competitors started telling the judge, "Well, it's a rescue dog. It's been to 3 different homes.
Oh no!
He's allergic to wheat bread."
Oh my God!
He's so cute.
Sorry, I'm just imagining. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, groomers start off they're when they start competing, they're really cute. And of course, I'm sure it was kind of a nervous kind of a thing. They're like,
right.
Let me tell you
what do I say? Oh shit. Yeah.
Like long walks on the beach.
I have something really important. Never admit any mistakes to the judges.
Yes.
Yes. And like when you're nervous and you're freaking out, you're like, yeah, I know I should have done that foot better, or yeah, this or that. Don't do that. Just keep your mouth shut, because they might not notice that until you say it. And that's a bad thing. Don't do that.
Yeah, I killed myself. I had a first place and I got knocked down to second because I said, well, I was trying to get the Portuguese water dog head, and I saw her go, because she was like, oh, this dog is beautiful. It's perfect. I was like, yeah, I didn't quite get the Portuguese dog head right. And she went, oh, that's what you were going for? And I was like, well, damn.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, let's see. Moving on here. We don't have that many more stuff to go over because we can kind of put these together. Ring and audience etiquette.
Oh, please let me go first on this.
You have your wish, Judy.
Yes. Yes, this is a topic that I think is so important. Again, I was a ring steward at Groom Texas, and literally I had groomers coming in going, what do you think? Which dog do you think won? Da, da, da. And that's fine. That's cool. But when they start going, you could tell that dog really doesn't look that great. I'm like, the contestants can hear you. First off. Second off, I don't see you in there. It takes so much for people to get in the contest ring. It is so hard. And, as groomers, we should always support each other. And yes, there are some A division dogs that are simply stunning. And there are some entry level that just don't look that great. but there's a difference in the levels, and everybody starts somewhere, and even in the creative styling, and just groomers that were standing around, and they were just not being nice. I mean, they would like talk up the really beautiful dogs, and then they'd be like, "Oh, what was she thinking about that?" That's just terrible. It's terrible. It's not good for the groomers that are in the contest ring, and just you got to support everybody that's in there. And if you're gonna do that, then put your money where your mouth is and get in the ring and do it yourself.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's see. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe. Vanessa.
Okay, so one time I was in the ring and I was with in close range to Mackenzie Murphy, which is like really cool.
Yeah.
Are you starstruck, honey? I'm just asking. Just a little bit.
Beautiful, beautiful work. Like, I'm still starstruck when I go into the ring all the time. I'm surrounded by amazing people. It's so cool. So she's grooming this beautiful Cocker Spaniel, and some people in the ring or on the outside of the ring are asking her grooming questions. Like, what did you use? And how do you get the bevels like that? And blah, blah, blah. And I wanted to like throw a pair of scissors at them and be like, she's fucking working right now. God. What are you doing?
Yeah.
This is not a free lesson right now. Like, it was so inappropriate. And Mackenzie was just being the sweetest as can be and trying to like, answer them, but still be focused. But I was mad for her. Mm-hmm. And I've also seen, a lot of people pointing, and you do hear things that they say on the outside of the ring, sometimes good, sometimes bad. And, it's really hard to focus when you're in the ring sometimes. For some people, they're like hyper focused and other people not. But you just, like you said, you're not out there doing it. And sometimes we make mistakes in the ring because we're nervous. A lot of times, a lot of my best work has not been in the ring. I've made a lot of mistakes in there. So, and then you get your critique from the judge and you don't get that placement and you realize how bad you messed up. And the last thing you want to hear is people on the sideline talking about how bad that dog looked or whatever the case. And especially, like you said, for people coming into entry level, sometimes people don't have that mentor to tell them this is a good dog to take or not. And they bring in a dog who is subpar or not qualified to really be in that ring. It's not fair for us to judge them and critique them like that. That's for the judges to have that conversation with them. So, nowadays, like, everyone is recording and doing live feed. And so if you're sitting there talking trash about someone else is recording for their friend, it's out there and you might not even know it. So you might want to be careful what you're saying ringside. I just think that ringside, more groomers should be there to support each other, support the competitors, rather than to be ripping them apart for things. And also try not to be distracting too. Like, if you've got a loud, obnoxious dog, don't sit right at the edge of the ring where the other dogs in the ring are like, or God, I don't know, if you brought a dog in heat or something, where you're sitting there like, just like being loud and obnoxious, like, go somewhere else and do it. I think like this is something that we're all taking very seriously. So you should.
Or my favorite, where somebody's got a kid and they're running up and down the aisle.
Say
and
that.
Toys.
Or they're
I have 3
screaming.
kids. I love my kids, but there is a time and a place, and in front of that contest ring is not it.
My children never did that. No.
And you don't know how the dogs are going to react to that. I mean, some dogs are not familiar with kids, so it could make or break someone's competition if something like that happens and distracts the dog. And So that's all I have for ringside etiquette is just be thoughtful of the people that's inside the ring.
Yeah. Awesome. Yvonne, do you have
Ooh, my
anything to
turn.
add?
I do. So be mindful of what you're saying, whether you're a competitor or you're an audience member. It can be constituted as coaching.
Yes.
If you're standing next to somebody in the ring or outside of the ring and you're critiquing what they're doing and it's coming out of your mouth, you can get that groomer disqualified. Whether
Yeah.
they are your friend or listening to you or not, you can get them disqualified. I had a judge do that to me, and I believe it was on purpose.
Oh, man.
Mhm.
So I am one of those hyper focused people. When I first started competing, I had the cutest fucking dog on the face of the earth. I had this, I don't know, Judy, you might remember seeing him. He was this 3.5 pound silver toy poodle that I put in a Bedlington trim.
Yes.
And he got so much attention, and it was wonderful because it was, again, it was a confidence builder for me. I didn't have any Bedlingtons. I wanted to, and it was so stinking cute on him.
Yeah.
So I had this lady, she's standing outside the ring and she starts running her mouth. Is that a baby Bedlington? And I'm so hyper focused, like I'm not even, her comments aren't getting through my focus yet, right? But is that a baby Bedlington? Well, what are you doing that for? Blah 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 blah. Well, that's not right. Da 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 da. Just and this was years ago, so I don't know the specifics of it. But he got a lot of attention because he was this freaking big. And
so
I'm putting
cute.
him in this Bedlington trim. So I was never happier than when they decided to stick me up front where nobody could get to me because he
Right.
got a lot of attention. Whether I won or not was irrelevant. Everybody thought he was adorable. But they'd have to come up and say something. And I spent several years turning into people and looking and going, listen, I'm not allowed to talk to you. I'm sorry. And that was it. Because they would repeat themselves on multiple times, even though I'm hyper focused. They're trying to get your attention for whatever reason these people don't understand. I firmly believe it's not malicious. I just believe they don't understand. They
They
don't
don't
get
know
it.
any better. Yeah.
Right. I turned around one day and I looked at this lady and I started to hand her my shears and I said, you want to get your ass in here and do this? Go ahead. And she was just like, all taken aback, and I'm like, okay, thank you, have a nice day.
Goodbye.
Well,
But most of the time you get, if you're trying to talk to a competitor, it's common sense not to talk to them. But a lot of people they get overstimulated at these shows, they get overexcited, and they're learning so much they've never been before. Even my mentor years and years ago that taught me how to groom, I think the first grooming competition she went to was about 7 or 8 years ago.
wow.
People didn't even know they existed. Groomers
Mhm.
didn't know I didn't know they existed. So they get in this environment and they're like, oh, wow. And they get they're like children. They get overstimulated and they want to know all this information. And that's great. But when somebody says to you, hey, listen, I'm not allowed to talk to you. I'm sorry. All that judge sees is me talking to you. They don't hear what we're saying. All they see is me talking to somebody outside of the ring. And when they see somebody outside of the ring that's a judge or another competitor or something like that, you better damn sure straight they're going to think you're getting coached.
Yeah.
So I turned around and I looked at this judge and I went, you know you're not supposed to be talking to me. And I just turned around and I went going what I was doing and I could just feel the menace coming from behind me. And it put me off my game and I didn't place and I wasn't happy about it. But I also established that I wasn't going to tolerate that crap.
Yeah.
So, be mindful of what you say. Be considerate, like everybody else said.
Right.
If you have a child that's upset, don't sit next to the ring with them. Skip it. Take your ass out. Take the child with you. You're disrupting. Take the dog
Don't let
with
them
you.
be Don't let them chewing those chips right in front of the dogs.
Yeah. Or don't break open a bag of dog treats or a packet of chips right next to the ring, people.
Right.
Oh my
Hello, let's all be,
And
let's all
no
be
flash
considerate.
photography. You
Right.
blind the dog, you startle the dog,
Yeah.
and you blind the groomer.
Oh my
Yes,
God.
it's
Some dogs
horrible.
react so bad to flash.
Yeah.
It's game over for them if they see a flash.
Yeah.
There's
So
a
even
reason
if you've
for
got
it.
a friend that's competing and they've forgotten something and you need to take it to them in the ring, take it to the ring steward and let the ring steward bring it to the
Right.
groomer that's in the contest ring.
And if you're really that interested, if you're watching a grooming competition, which the majority of us are, I was for a long time, I was just fascinated. Wait till they're done. Wait till the judging is done. Wait till everything is over.
My battery's dying.
Look at
It's
your
all right,
catalog
we're
look
pretty
at your
much
catalog
over.
and figure out when is this class going to end? If you really want a picture of XYZ dog because it's just so freaking cute, you can't stand it, come back when it's over.
Yes.
We're all super happy to stack our dogs so you can take a picture, and we'll give you our phones so you can take a picture too so we can look at the shit we did wrong.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But don't do it in the middle of the competition. When it's over and the judging is over and they're deliberating or whatever, just like, Manessa said about the dog shows, don't go early in the morning. Everybody's getting ready. They're in a frenzy. They're trying to get to the ring. They're trying to get their things done, blah, blah, blah. When it's over, try to talk to them, or ask them for a picture. Yeah.
And then, sorry, I know somebody
finished
said
dog.
battery is dying and you were talking about in the ring, but that's what happened with Christine. So for a second, I thought you meant like your battery's about to die and I'm about to lose you.
Oh.
Like, okay, the show is almost over. Sorry.
No, that was me. My battery.
Tilly is acting so weird right now. So
Yeah, my battery's dying on my computer.
Oh, okay. So you were talking. I thought.
What, you don't own a plug?
First of all, it's in the living room.
But anyways, I don't know if you guys
Mom.
have anything more that you want to say, because honestly, we went through all of it. Whether we kind of like covered stuff that we talked about we wanted to cover by like talking about another thing. That makes sense.
Yeah,
like,
it was great.
We covered everything. So I mean, at this point, whatever else you guys think we didn't cover, any sort of like closing remarks, let me know now if you would like to do that.
Well, whoever's battery is dying, they should go first.
That would be me. Yeah, no, I just, definitely want to say, competing is a lot of fun. And, like Yvonne said, competing, when you get in the contest ring, don't ever consider that you're competing against everybody else in that ring. It's about going in and learning. And the more that you compete, the more you'll learn. And even if you never place, the education you get in there is invaluable. I mean, it's the best that you can get. It's one-on-one critiques. It's, your dog, you're grooming, the judge is looking at exactly what you're doing. It's not a generalized class. Go in, have fun with it. Learn your rules, make sure you know the rules before you go in the contest ring. Make sure that we talked a little bit about tools, but the last time that you groom your dog before the contest, as you're grooming the dog, write down every tool that you are using so that you remember to take every one of those tools with you.
Yeah.
And then, make sure you bring a backup pair of scissors and a backup pair of clippers, or bring a cord in case you have to charge in the room. Just because they say no cords, that means no cords in the ring. That doesn't mean, don't forget to bring it with you to charge it in the room.
Yeah.
So you always want to make sure you have backup, and put some peanut butter crackers in your toolbox because you may get hungry in the middle of the contest. Make sure to hydrate before you get in the ring.
Yeah. Awesome. Manessa, Yvonne, anything more?
Okay, I have something to say. So for me, my go-to snack in the ring is Starburst. So if anyone loves me and you see me looking pretty cranky over there, just throw me a Starburst or two.
Are you coming to Orlando?
Yes, of course.
What's your favorite flavor?
Pink or red.
Okay. Okay. I'll see what
Those
I
are
can
my
do.
favorite too. Yeah.
But I would just say, like, for anyone that wants to compete or certify or, you know, is thinking about it, I think you should just take that step. I mean, just get in there, get in the ring, go for it. Try to find someone that will help you. I think there's so many sources through social media now, and like judges, all these top groomers. There's so many people that are so willing to help everyone nowadays. So don't be afraid to reach out to somebody. And like competing and certifying for me has been a wonderful journey. Like I've made so many friends through competing from all over the country. You know, I wouldn't have met Yvonne if I wasn't learning more. I wouldn't, I just like literally there are people on the other side of the country that I only see at grooming shows. So not to mention the fact that like Super Zoo is coming up. It's one of my favorite shows. I would have never in my life ever wanted to go to Vegas ever. Like the thought of it kind of made me want to throw up in my mouth a little bit. But let me tell you, because of the grooming show, I went there and I love Vegas. I love it. I don't mind the strip. I thought I was going to hate it, but I don't mind it. We go to the Grand Canyon, like we make a trip out of it that we would have never have made if it wasn't for the grooming competitions. So like they really open up a lot to us. They help us from being burnt out. They're fun. They're educational. I think everyone should give it a go. And also, if competing's not for you, maybe assisting competitors. You know,
that's a great way to learn.
Yeah, it's a great way to learn. It's a great way to still be involved and be part of something. So I don't know. I just think that competing has so many good, and I do think you need to have a little bit of a tough skin because it can be hard. I mean, I've definitely like cried a lot. But that's okay. Like, you know, you can take the critiques and come back and do better. And like Yvonne was saying, like it's about confidence building and growing into a better person, into a stronger person. And for me, competing has done that for me. It's really helped me a lot. So I just think that it can be a really great avenue that I wish more groomers would not be so intimidated by it and try to step in the ring and go for it.
Awesome. And Yvonne, any closing thoughts?
So as much as I love competition, and I'm still doing it to keep myself sharp and to help me teach better, I'm going to get on my soapbox about certification just a little bit. And Carissa's heard me talk about this a lot. And I think it's even more important now. And this is not a political statement in any way, shape, or form. But our country has put out a lot of money for COVID. Everybody got a stimulus check. Everybody got help when they were out of work, which is great. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But what I'm saying is our industry is unregulated, almost completely unregulated. And the government is going to start looking for money somewhere. And they're going to come for the industries like us that are not regulated because they want that city license. They want that money that's going to come in from us having to do a government sanctioned continuing education. Blah 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 blah. Okay, I've been screaming about this for over 10 years, and it's coming.
Yeah.
So if you don't, as much as you say, oh, I've been grooming 40 years, I don't need to do that. Or I know what I'm doing. I don't need to do that. That's never going to happen. Okay, you go ahead and stick your head in the sand. But the people that are going to survive this when it comes, when the government figures out that they can regulate us and they can make us get certified and they can make these things happen. Guess who's already done that?
And
All
don't
I'm
think
going to
you're
have
going to
to
get
do,
grandfathered in just because you've been grooming for a long time.
no, and you
Yeah,
might
no.
get, but it might only be, they might only give you a certain, depending on your state.
Yeah.
Because we've learned this with Roe versus Wade. They're going to put this shit back in the control of the state government, which is how it should be. It should be in the state government. Where you live is where you should be regulated, and I get that. But they're going to look for people like us that are already certified, that have this experience, to get on the board of those regulating bodies that are then going to tell every groomer in that state what the fuck they can do and how they can do it. And if you don't have that experience and you don't get ahead of it, you're done. You're going to be scrambling to get certified. You're going to be scrambling to try to figure out how to meet OSHA requirements. You're going to be scrambling to figure out how to keep your shop or your mobile or your house.
Oh no, there she went.
There she went. Your house place clean, or there's only one or two states that I'm aware of, I could be wrong, that even the agriculture comes in and just inspects and sees if you're clean enough.
Yeah.
That's it. When the government figures out that that's all we got, they're coming for us. I'm telling you, they are. It might not be before I retire, but it's going to be in Manessa's career time.
Yeah, mine.
It's going to be in the people behind us. So if we don't encourage you to get your certification, at least to better yourself, to show to your state government, hey, I've done this, I'm okay. And then we have more of those people to again stand behind us, because they're going to put on those boards veterinarians and politicians.
Yeah.
Because they don't know we do all this stuff. So it's going to take us master groomers to stand up and go, hey, I want to be on that board.
Yeah.
I don't want you to have to require a water bowl in every dog's crate, because the minute I'm finished grooming it, it's going to knock the water bowl over and then wallow in it, and then I got to re-groom it again before its mom comes to pick it up.
Yeah, or it gets to the point where with corporate, if there was one incident for any reason, it could have even been just the dog's breed, or not even its breed, it was just that breed, this particular dog of that breed had this issue. Suddenly these rules keep being put in. Now you can't have a dryer on this kennel because it's this breed, but we've gotten to the point where you can't have it on a miniature schnauzer. You can't have it on a poodle that isn't a standard poodle. Like it keeps snowballing to the point where it doesn't even make sense anymore.
Right.
Like it's like, sorry, Bichons can't have a kennel dryer on it, and these dryers don't have heat anymore. That doesn't exist anymore.
Right. But the thing is it's going to if we don't have an input, if we don't stand up for ourselves, and if we don't make this shit happen, that we get a voice, we're not going to have a voice. They're going to implement these stupid rules. Like, my friend Debbie Hilly is in Georgia. She has to have a separate noose for every single dog, and it has to be sanitized between every single dog. That's the Department of Agriculture. It has nothing to do with dog grooming at all.
No.
It's just their arbitrary decision that this is how it has to happen. So, okay, that wouldn't be so bad. But you can imagine like some politician coming in that doesn't even own a dog, that has no clue, trying to implement these rules on us. So if we don't level up and certify and make ourselves known in our own industry, we're going to get walked all over. And I think certification is the place where that starts.
Yeah. Agreed. And just kind of so we can segue from that, because once we're done, I'm just going to end the stream and not go any farther, because we're like getting to 2 hours and 40 minutes, and I know we're all tired. But to segue from that, the next episode that we're having, it's going to be, I think, the only episode in September, because I have a ton of stuff family-wise going on. It will actually be covering, in a more broad sense, not just grooming, but just the pet industry as a whole, we're going to look at legislation that's coming down, specifically those that are already happening in other countries like in Europe, and also how it's being propelled by the ARA is what we call it, but the animal rights activists, and how it's this slow picking away at freedoms for animal lovers and to get to the ultimate goal, which is you don't have a pet anymore. So we will be discussing that. I'm going to have some pretty cool guests on that feel very strongly about that. I know Angela couldn't be on this show, but she wants to be on that one a lot. And I think Christine will be on that one as well. But I think that really kind of goes into exactly what the next episode's going to be about.
Ooh, awesome.
Because, I mean, I know you guys have probably already seen it. You know, you can't shave the face because of the whiskers unless you have a vet. Nope.
Did you hear that eye roll?
It's so dumb. It's so dumb. It's you can't shave the whiskers off horses now.
But that's kind of like my point.
Yeah.
You know, that's the stupid rules that we're going to end up with if we don't, you know, present ourselves as professional, step up, get certified, you know, represent yourself, represent your tribe, represent your peeps, even if we don't like each other, even if, you know, but that's getting better too.
Yeah.
You know, it used to be everybody was in competition with each other, and it's getting a little better. And I like that.
Yeah.
I think we need to all stand up for each other, but that's the bottom line is if we don't do that, we're going to end up with stupid ass rules like we can't shave poodle faces.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb. So anyways, though, I hope all the guests had a good time. I know we lost Christine because of battery, and then Judy of battery, but she said she had a great time anyways. Yeah, so I appreciate y'all coming on. I know it was a very long show. I was just going to go ahead and end it when I'm not going to do my own little speech thing because I'm exhausted from work and going straight into doing this. So Vanessa, Yvonne, Christine, and Judy, all y'all, thanks so much for coming. I will talk to you guys more about that episode in September.